Welcome to Quicksand, the most important news in pharma and biotech this week. The FDA published a new draft guidance document that seeks to support the development of treatments that address underlying genetic mutations that often cause or contribute to diseases. The guidance offers help for companies developing certain targeted therapies on the basis of targeting a molecular subtype that is common across different phenotypes, rather than solely on an individual disease. The 8-page document features FDA's current recommendations on how to group patients with different genetic mutations for eligibility in clinical trials and approaches to evaluating benefits and risks of targeted therapies within a clinically defined disease, where some molecular alterations may occur at low frequencies. For the purpose of this guidance, low-frequency molecular alterations are those that occur at frequencies low enough that enrolling a sufficient number of patients to conduct a clinical trial limited to the specific molecular alteration of interest is not feasible or practical, FDA says. The draft offers sections on how to identify patients for inclusion in clinical trials, what kind of findings can be generalizable, benefits and risk determination and labeling, and refining the target population after initial approval. The FDA published draft guidance that would establish a new type of letter the agency sends to generic drug makers to provide applicants with preliminary thoughts on possible deficiencies of an abbreviated new drug application. Thanks to the recently reauthorized generic drug user fee amendments, FDA will issue deficiency review letters, or DRLs, and information requests, or IRs, to obtain further information or clarification to allow completion of a discipline review. IRs and DRLs will be sent to ANDA applicants at about the midpoint of the review clock, the draft guidance says, except when a discipline review results in the ability to act on a received ANDA. But the issuance of an IR or a DRL will generally not affect the review clock, FDA says, and an applicant's response generally will not be classified as a major or minor amendment. A DRL will pertain to items that the review team believes may require resolution prior to full or tentative approval of the application, and the agency notes it will not issue a DRL if the issuance would delay or coincide with the issuance of a complete response letter. The FDA released a draft guidance on the topic of incompleteness of a new drug application or biologics license application in the agency's decision not to review an application. Since the early 1990s, FDA's processes and timelines for reviewing NDAs and BLAs have evolved thanks, at least in part, to the Prescription Drug User Fee Act. And with this evolution, the complexity of applications and how FDA determines completeness have become more challenging, the agency explains. On May 19, 2017, FDA withdrew its previously published guidance from 1993 on refuse-to-file actions. FDA says it is issuing this guidance to update and clarify the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research's procedures for determining whether an application should be refused for filing because it is incomplete. This draft also includes procedures for certain BLAs and supplemental BLAs, as CDER is responsible for certain biological products subject to licensing under the Public Health Service Act. Filing issues generally are grouped into two categories, the draft explains: deficiencies that can be corrected before filing and are not discussed in the draft, and complex, significant deficiencies that cannot be corrected before filing and may result in a refusal to file. Specific examples of refuse-to-file scenarios can be found in FDA's Manual of Policies and Procedures, Good Review Practice, Refuse to File. Teva Pharmaceutical Industries announced it would slash its headcount by 14,000, eliminating more than 25% of its worldwide workforce. It's aiming to cut $3 billion from its annual costs. And the act will fall swiftly, with the majority of job cuts coming in 2018. Most of the affected employees will receive notice over the next 90 days, Teva said. Meanwhile, manufacturing plants, R&D facilities, and offices around the world will shut down or be sold. The cost-cutting plan comes courtesy of new CEO Kari Schultz, whom Teva recently tapped to help get things back on track. The company is burdened by debt at a time when it's facing competition to its lead drug, Quicksand, struggling under industry-wide generics price erosion, and suffering from a slowdown in Teva's generics launch schedule. The new restructuring blueprint will deal a big blow to generics, a business that's struggling mightily. Teva plans to tweak prices and discontinue products, which will in turn speed up closures and sell-offs of a significant number of manufacturing plants in the US, Europe, Israel, and emerging markets. Hard times in the copycat drug business recently forced similar actions from Novartis' Sandoz, albeit on a much smaller scale. Teva plans to shutter a laundry list of R&D facilities, headquarters locations, and other offices around the world and review R&D programs across the company in both its generics and specialty portfolios. It plans to scrap some development projects immediately, it said. Vertex Pharmaceuticals is licensing the first CRISPR-based gene editing treatment that come out of a deal it made with CRISPR Therapeutics in 2015, namely a candidate targeting beta thalassemia and sickle cell disease. The pair will co-develop and co-commercialize the investigational treatment CTX001, sharing equally the R&D costs and profits worldwide, they said in a statement. Sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia are caused by mutations in the beta globin gene, which codes for a part of hemoglobin, the oxygen-carrying component of red blood cells. This results in missing or defective hemoglobin. CTX001 is based on the knowledge that fetal hemoglobin, found in newborn babies and later replaced by adult hemoglobin, can be protective in adults who have blood disorders. With CTX001, a patient's cells are harvested and edited with CRISPR to increase fetal hemoglobin levels in the patient's blood cells. The edited cells are then infused back into the patient, where they are expected to produce blood cells with fetal hemoglobin, thereby compensating for faulty adult hemoglobin. The therapy is slated to enter phase 1/2 trials in 2018. A U.S. trial will investigate its use in sickle cell disease, while a European trial will study it in beta thalassemia. The latter study will be the first company-sponsored trial of a CRISPR-based therapy. Vertex has been focusing on its cystic fibrosis drug franchise while it struck the deal with CRISPR Therapeutics 2 years ago. It forked over $75 million in cash and took a $30 million stake in the company. The 4-year pact gives Vertex the right to option up to 6 programs. Thank you for listening to Quicksand, Episode 10, December 18th, 2017.